clips of me and Maggie are just before I started taking dressage lessons. At this point, I hadn't had lessons for several years and wasn't really working on much with Maggie. As you can see, her default way of going is to be inverted. She carries her head way up in the air, doesn't really carry or stretch under with her hind legs. She just kind of shuffles along and tries to be obedient, but I didn't really have the tools to ask her to move any differently. As you can see, I just kind of hover over the pommel and let her do her thing, and she had just developed a lot of really bad habits during this time. This clip is shortly after I started my dressage lessons with my trainer in June or July. So at this point, I'm just kind of trying to understand what a working walk is, trying to understand what a working trot is. As you can see, I'm not really getting it here, but at least I have a connection with my reins, and just trying really, really hard to get her moving forward. Fast forward to October. At this point, I have started to work on getting her to stretch down, which I did not know how to do at all before this. Here I'm basically playing around with letting her stretch down and then reeling in the reins. And the same thing in the trot, really just getting her moving forward, seeing if she'll stretch down and forward, and trying to keep the contact consistent. Here we're working our Swedish stretch, which is something my trainer taught me how to do to get them to kind of loosen up through their back. And this is one of our first attempts at the canter. I waited several months to canter her after starting our dressage lessons because she really just didn't know how to carry herself in the canter at all. As you can see, she just reverts back to being inverted and shuffling her legs. So at that point, I brought her back to basics. We go back to the trot, and we just did lots and lots of miles in the trot before really working into our canter again. Here you can see I'm also reverting to my old habit of perching over the pommel, just being really tight in my legs, not really having much control there, but she is making a good effort. She gave me some nice moments during these few months, and I decided to attempt the canter again here. A little smoother. I'm learning how to sit back instead of hovering, which I can do every now and then, but we still, as you can see, have a lot to work on with our balance in the canter at this point. My trainer had gotten on Maggie a few times and tried to canter her and ran into a lot of the same difficulties that I had, so here I'm just trying to replicate kind of what my trainer was doing with her, which is basically sending her forward and keeping the contact and giving inside half halts around the corners. Then I started to work in some pole work and some lateral work. I didn't have a lot of videos, actually no videos in here of the lateral work because I did a lot of that during my lessons, which I don't film. But here you can see me working her over the trot poles and just trying to encourage her to stretch down. There she gave me a really big stretch, which is great. Just helping her tuck up her abs and use her back over the poles. Here we're working the canter again. Just putting more miles on, trying to get a productive canter going. And finally, we were able to canter in the outdoor arena. So much more space. Here she's still inverted, but she's not as flat and unbalanced as she had been. So just working on kind of holding her together and really trying to get her to stretch forward with her hind legs rather than just kind of shuffling them aimlessly underneath her. And I'm sitting back a lot more in these videos, so that I think helped her a lot. These are the most recent videos of us. Here we're working just on a 20-meter circle in the canter, trying to push her into the outside aids, around the turns. And finally here we have some really recent clips of us doing our working trot, just trying to keep her in a consistent frame. As you can see, she doesn't pop her head up as much, just usually when my concentration fades, she pops her head up. But Usually she's a pretty good girl. She's pretty much listening to me, and I started working her through some more patterns. Here we're doing a serpentine, just trying to keep a consistent frame, and also working in some half transitions to keep her listening and focused and balanced. And she really loves the half transition exercise. We do these almost every time we ride now, which is a really good way to make sure that she is on my aids and focused and paying attention, because like me, her attention tends to drift while we're riding. This is the most recent clip I have of us cantering. As you can see, there is a huge difference between this canter and the canter that you saw in the beginning of the video. There is a lot to work on. We still have not gotten her to really stretch down in the canter, but she's carrying herself a lot better. She is starting to come through in her back, and she's just all around improved a lot in her balance and just her way of moving in the canter. She has become such an enjoyable horse to ride over the last year, and our training with my trainer has improved us so much. She feels like a different horse to ride now, and I'm just so proud of her progress so far.